Hey friends, we're so glad you're here and have tuned into So What Makes You Come Alive podcast. We're your hosts, Gabe the Girl
and Mikaela McGee, and we're here to explore what it would look like to take ownership of and change the narratives of our lives to live a life fully alive.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of So What Lights You Up. We're so excited to have the opportunity to talk to Mikaela today. About what things light her up and makes her come fully alive. So Mikaela, first question for you. What makes you come fully alive? What lights you up?
Yes. You know, we were actually just talking right before this. I love these questions that we get to ask people, but it's also like a little bit like, whoa, I don't know. I really have to think about these things. So I've been thinking about it, obviously, since we created this podcast, and we've been talking about it for months now. And it's really fun to think about the spectrum of things that make me come alive. Like, it's something as small as taking my dogs for a walk and watching their booties wag, their tails wag. Like, it brings me so much joy to see them full of joy. But then also what lights me up is traveling and exploring and learning from other people about the way that they do life. Like, I love learning other languages because I feel like I get to connect with other people on a heart level, on a much more meaningful level than like this broken, whatever jumbled language. But like, their appreciation for me taking that extra little step, like the joy in their faces when they see, oh my gosh, somebody took the time to learn how to say hello, how are you? Like, it's these tiny little things that really do. Now I'm just thinking about Marie Kondo. Like, it sparks joy for me, you know? What tiny little things can I have in my life that really, really light me up, that make me feel fully alive? And I'm finding more and more that it's joy. It's like, where can I find more joy in my life? What's going to enhance this moment's experience? Usually it's just like finding something to bring a smile to my face, you know, or a laugh or whatever. Like, I love singing. And I know that we talked about this with you last week, like your background in theater and arts and all that stuff. Like, I'm not by any means an actor at all, but I have so much fun doing that kind of stuff, like in a small group of friends, you know, like it's just fun peeling back all those layers and kind of being a kid. Like, there's no inhibitions anymore. It's me in my fullness, having fun, finding moments of joy, like laughing at the silly things, because why not? Right?
Yeah. I love that, like you just saying, like looking and finding joy, that it's like a foundational thing that, like, that for you, as you know, that makes you come alive and lights you up, can flex and change depending on the season. And I'm sure that, like, you found things that brought you joy and lit you up in your time of singleness, and then your time of dating, and then being married, and, you know, now having, you know, fur babies, like all different things of joy. Like, it's so easy to find those things.
It really is when we look for it. And I think that it can also be hard. I know that we'll get to the challenges later, but like, it can be hard to just get consumed with whatever's in your face. But choosing that joy, choosing to look for that joy, that lights me up. It's so, like, it's just so much more fun this way. And life can be fun. Life is as fun as we let it be. And I want to live a fun, joyful, love-filled, peaceful life. All of those things to me really truly make me feel fully alive, because I firmly believe that at our core, in our essence, our purest form is love and joy and peace. And so when I can experience that in this outward world, in this world that we're living in, then that's gonna make me feel fully alive. Like, I have goosebumps just thinking about it, and fire like burning within me that is like, yes, I'm so lit up just thinking about it, and thinking about other people getting to experience that too. Like, it's not just me, I'm living in la la land over in Mikaela's world or something, but if I see somebody else living a life that is clearly lit up, I'm totally drawn to that person. I want to be around people like that who are doing something that they're so passionate about. They're living in a very alive way. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
know how else to put it, but they're not robots. They're not just going through the motions, but we're all here to experience life to its fullest. And so why not? And what
Yeah.
is that fullness? For me, it is
Mhm.
joy and love and laughter and peace and all
Mhm.
the great, amazing things.
Yeah. Deep meaning, deep connection to purpose, and
Yes.
that being a
Mhm.
driving force in how you approach your life, how you approach
Yeah.
relationships, how you approach your work, or whatever you are investing your time in. um
Yeah.
I had a thought. It's just escaped me for the moment. Oh, I was going to say, you talked about the fur babies, like you walking your
Mhm.
dogs, and you find joy in that. What are a couple other specific things that you find like really light you up and make you feel fully alive right now?
Yeah. So I feel like having conversations like this where it's finding is, I guess, asking people like, who are you and what are you here for? I mean, those are like big fat questions, but I love having those open-ended conversations with people and just seeing kind of where their brain or heart takes them in the midst of that conversation. It really lights me up to see when other people are kind of like breaking free from the the day-to-day, the what is the mundane, I guess, like
Mm,
breaking free from this like robotic programming of like, okay, wait, so I finished 12th grade and now I must go to college and then I must get a job and then I must get married and then I
mhm,
must have children and whatever, whatever.
mhm,
And like, I think that more people these days realize like you really don't have to follow that programming. But
mhm.
when people have that moment of realization that like, oh my gosh, okay, so I went to college for this one particular thing because I felt like I needed to do that. But holy moly, this world is just opened up. Like, being in
Yeah.
your 20s can be really overwhelming because there's so many options and you have your whole life ahead of you. And when people go through that experience, like getting to be part of that with them, having these conversations, having them realize like, oh my gosh, I can do anything. Okay, yeah, so what do you
Yeah.
want to do? Like,
Yeah.
yes, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so exciting.
Yeah.
It's
And for those
amazing.
of you who are just tuning in, like, and you don't know kind of a little bit of our history, like, that was what
Mhm.
Mikaela was to me. Like,
Oh,
I arrived in Southern Spain. I'm just like thinking back on some of our conversations over coffee,
right?
sitting at La Casita, little coffee shop,
Oh,
like, or
la
like,
casita.
other places over churros con
Hmm.
chocolate, just talking
Hmm.
about like, like, what do you want in life? And I was like, wait, I'm allowed to have like desires
Right?
and like needs, like there's
Oh
those are
man.
things, like at least for my
Those are things.
personality and growing up the way I did, like it was always about other
Hmm.
people, right? And so
Yep.
what you're talking about right here, like, I mean, I was a
Yeah.
part of that, like,
I love
like I'm like,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and like here we are.
And it gets to be mutual too. I think that's the cool part. And you were talking
Yeah.
about this last week about like this fire just spreads. Like when
Mm,
you are living a life that is lit up, you are drawn to people who are also living that way, and you're drawing
yeah.
other people who desire something. They can see something different about you. And so they're drawn to you. And that, even if it's like a tiny little spark that goes from you to that person, it still creates this massive ripple effect. You guys, I have goosebumps just like thinking about
That's
how this
cool.
gets to be, right? Like we're choosing a life that is fully
Mm,
alive, and in doing so, it's it's just going to wake everybody up. Like everybody's going to start living a life that's lit up when you choose that for yourself,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's inevitable. Like these
Yeah.
sparks will spread and it's just going to be this massive, beautiful wildfire.
Yeah. And what do they say? Like, you are the sum of the five closest people you spend time
Mm,
with, or like you're investing time with. And I know that, yeah, like you, I gravitate towards those people too. People that
yeah.
are really living a life where they're like so passionate and inspired and lit up and
Yes.
alive.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that there are people, that get to meet people like you and me, and they're like, oh man, yeah, I
Mhm.
want to spend more time with this person too. And so like we all do that for each other. And then
Yes.
just like a wildfire.
With
It
sneaky.
goes sneaky. You sneaky
Yeah.
one. So throwback to like Vine, YouTube, showing our millennial ages.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Welcome to our
Okay,
podcast.
welcome to our podcast. So I want to ask you, what inspires you and motivates you to live a life fully alive?
So I feel like one is what we were just talking about, this idea of seeing everybody else live a life that is lit up. Um, I realized a long time ago, like I can't convince anybody of anything. I can't change
Yeah.
their beliefs. I can't change their values. And it's not my place to do that anyway. I would never want to, but I can always inspire by choosing my way of living life. And it does set me apart, like the way that anybody lives their lives, once they're conscious of it, once they are very actively choosing that, immediately shifts them out of this whatever program world that we're in. Like it separates you as soon as you start choosing the way that you want to live your life. And I love knowing that I get to actually choose a way that can be inspiring to other people, like I could go live up on a hill in a cave and never see anybody and find joy somewhere else. But like, to me, that's so not what it's all about for me personally. To each his own, big time. But I love people. I love being around people, and I love knowing that my actions have a ripple effect. So it does, like, I'm inspired to live a life fully alive for myself and also for the benefit of others. This goes back to like what you were saying about always being about other people. And that has been my MO forever. Like I still love other people and I want to serve them. And I do feel a deep, like a deep desire, I guess, to really see healing happen and heal. And like I really desperately want to see people actually live this life fully alive, like not just like robots. We're not just here to pass the time and pass the days. Like all we have is right now, and all we have is right now. Like that's really all that there is. So like, what are you choosing to do with your right now? Tomorrow is not guaranteed. This afternoon's not guaranteed, like all we have is this particular moment. And so how can we choose to live in a way that's actually meaningful? I totally lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying.
No, yes, yes. And I was gonna say, like, so I'm in the process of reading a book by one of my favorite authors, and you spoke exactly to the section that I'm reading right now, which is all
Amazing.
about having choice. And once you realize that you have a choice, that you get to decide whether to play the hero or the victim or the villain,
right.
or maybe for a season you're a guide, or maybe you're both at the same time, like a hero and a guide at the same time to different people. But once you start to realize that you have the power to choose, your life can completely shift, because then you're taking ownership. Then you have the responsibility of making a decision. And this author talks about Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, back during the Holocaust, was working with, individuals who were suicidal. And he was put on the mission to make sure that they did not follow through with committing suicide. And once that mind shift change happened, when people started to realize that they had the power to take control of the things that they could control, even though there were so many things outside of their control. And I forget the word he used to describe that, but basically having control, like they started to realize that they had more purpose and meaning in their lives, and they desired to live, and they decided to live lit up, or fully alive in those things that they did have a choice in.
Yes. Yeah. Which is freaking powerful when you think about it, because we are not in the Holocaust right now. We're not, well, most of us are not living in a super oppressive state of being. And yet we're still operating that way
Mhm.
until we make that choice,
Yeah,
which is pretty
definitely.
freaking powerful.
Yeah. So
Holy cow.
speaking to the ability to choose, and then the things inside and outside of our control, what sort of challenges have you
Mm,
experienced over your time of having a choice and wanting to live a life fully lit up? Like,
yeah.
what have you faced?
I think this actually goes back to like what I was just talking about with my heart for service and like always putting others first and everything. When I first started making this choice that I wanted to live fully alive, it felt incredibly selfish. And I had to do a lot of unpacking around that. Like, is there really something wrong with being selfish and choosing a life that is going to light me up? Because what if when I am lit up, others will also get to be lit up? Is that ultimately serving other people?
Mhm.
And like overcoming that mindset around this idea of like, but if I'm serving myself, then I'm not serving others. That's not true. But if I'm serving myself, then I can better serve other people.
Yes,
And
come on.
that, yeah,
Come on,
like,
preach.
girl, that one was so freaking hard for me to overcome. Just like my whole background in serving other people, and like I always viewed myself as less than. I wanted to be behind the scenes. I wanted to, like help put others up on a pedestal. I, for the longest time, like wanted to live among the poorest of the poor. And somebody told me just a couple years ago, there's this whole big quote around it, and I can't even remember all the details of it, but it's like, you can't be poor enough to overcome poverty, and you can't be, or not overcome, but like to help the poorest of the poor, and you can't be sick enough to heal the sick, and you can't, like, it's this. That was my mindset around the whole thing. Like, if I am poor, then somehow that's helping other people, because I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea of abundance, that like if I have, then somebody else can also have. I really
Yeah.
always felt like my joy was taking away from somebody else's joy. My peace was taking away from somebody else's peace. My whatever was always taking away from somebody else's. And overcoming that silly mindset that can be so hard to work through has been like massive. In addition to that, my some of my friends and family had a really hard time seeing me change the way that I was living, because I used to be really quiet and obviously behind the scenes, and like, I wouldn't say that I wasn't living a life that was lit up, but I was a little bit nervous to be too bright, you know, because that would take away from somebody else's brightness in my old mindset. Uh-huh. Like,
Oh.
truly. Yeah. But of course I didn't want to be that way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you start living in this way with great intention of like, but I want to feel fully alive. I want to feel like there's meaning and purpose to every single moment of my day. And people stopped recognizing me. They said, "You've changed. Like, why are you being this way all of a sudden? I don't really like this." And like, now I can look back and say, yes, I've changed. Thank goodness. This is the whole purpose. Like, we're here to grow and
Yeah.
change and morph and whatever. But also, like, that's
Mhm.
really uncomfortable, especially
Yeah.
when it's people whose opinion you really value, people
Yeah.
who you care deeply about, to have them telling you, like, what are you doing? This feels a little bit weird. Like, okay, yes, please have patience with me. I'm figuring this out, like, as I go. But I know that the direction that I'm walking towards is the direction that is absolutely right for me. Living my life completely and fully alive. If we're not doing that, what the heck are we doing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it has opened up a lot of conversations, but that has been hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I think similarly that it's like sandpaper on sandpaper. You
Mm,
know? It's like,
yeah.
and when it's unexpected, that's also,
Yep.
like kind of challenging. Um
Totally.
but how have you, like, over time, because I know it's been, years of this journey for you.
Mm,
Um, and uh, I mean, I even got to see some of your beginnings of that when we were living and doing life together in Malaga.
yeah.
Um, but how have you seen that have an impact in those relationships? Like, have you seen any change, or like what has happened in your relationship since then?
Yeah. I think that some relationships have grown deeper, which has been amazing to
Mm,
experience. Others have just kind of not faded completely, but just like morphed. They've shifted a little bit.
mhm,
And then there are the relationships that are just no longer there. And that was really hard for me at first because I am a very relational person and I'm very like service oriented and others focused. And so feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm losing friends. And what am I doing wrong? Clearly it's on me. I have done something to destroy, this essence of a relationship that I had. Um, and part of navigating that was like asking friends for patience as I'm navigating these waters for
mhm.
myself.
Yeah,
And then
wise.
some of it, they just, I'm grateful for the service or I'm grateful for what that friendship was for that season. And if it is no longer in my present, then I make peace with that. It's easier said than done, but like
Mhm.
gratitude, I think, has been like one of the biggest tools for me as I navigate friendships ebbing and flowing. Cause like, it doesn't have to be this big blow up end of a friendship. Like I can feel such great gratitude for the years that they were part of my life, prior to now. And I can feel gratitude for them as a being, even if whatever, like maybe hurtful words were exchanged, or maybe it just stopped being that way. And I used to be really sad about losing friendships like that. But at the same time, it does create space for new relationships and so much other beauty. And I would so much rather hold on to the gratitude that I feel for what they were to me then than the sorrow of not having them anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. If you don't face the challenges, if you never encounter challenges, whether that be
Mm-mm.
with relationships or anything else, like you, you don't change as a human, and change is essential, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely essential.
Right. If you're not changing, then what are you doing? Just going through the
Mhm.
motions? You're aging. Your body is physically changing. But
Yeah.
like then what
Yeah.
now?
So then your
Are you
mind, your
yeah,
actions, your
right?
emotions, your,
Mm-hmm. Heart,
everything.
soul, all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't just stop when you leave school.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
really, truly.
totally. Yeah, we don't stop
Mm-mm.
changing once we graduate from high school or college. Like,
No,
this is a
no.
lifelong
Could you
process.
imagine? Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'd just be like perpetually 18 or 22 or whatever. Like, no, thank you.
Yikes.
I'm glad that I'm not. Yeah.
Yikes. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I loved both of those years for different reasons, but
Hmm.
perpetual state of that.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So my final question for you is,
Mm,
if you had any sort of nugget of encouragement or
mm.
wisdom, um, that you could bring as a light into this room that we are slowly but surely
Yeah.
bringing more light to, like, what would that
Yeah.
nugget of wisdom be?
Totally. So one of the biggest game changers for me was realizing that I have that power of choice. And last year, my birthday's in February, and I committed to every single day choosing joy. And I like at the time it was like I was in like a funky situation where I was living in like weird energy and like grumpiness constantly around and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do an experiment and see what happens, because my old mindset was like, if I'm happy, that's taking away from somebody else's happiness. And there's already a shortage of happiness in this situation. So let's see what happens if I just choose to be happy all the time. And it was amazing. I mean, it was like definitely not an overnight change, but that is a practice that I have not stopped since. So it's been like almost 13 months of choosing joy every single day. And my goodness, I laugh so much more than I have, probably since I was a kid. I'm not constantly smiling. Let's be real, people. This is real life. But like, I certainly smile a lot more. Like I see joy in the small little things now because of that. And so it really can be as simple as giving yourself this experiment of like, what happens if you go one day and you just choose to be joyful, or to find something that will bring you joy that day. One thing. That's all it takes. One tiny little thing to see if that thing can bring you joy. And it ends. I mean, just see. I would test it out for like a week, though, maybe a month.
Yeah. I mean, they say
the rest of your life.
30 days. Yeah. I mean, why not? Like,
right.
Go for the long haul right away. They say it takes 30 days to form a habit, right?
Yeah.
And like 30 days or more to break a habit. So, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Advice.
I just think it's such an easy experiment. Like find one thing that makes you feel lit up or fully alive, and choose to look for that one thing every single day for a month and see what happens. Right?
Girl.
Nugget.
I like that nugget. I choose to receive that nugget, and I will.
There we go.
I will go and you know what? I'd like to try that. We can talk about it in a future episode. I'll try on that nugget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
So amazing. I feel lit up by this conversation.
Right.
And from hearing from you, and I know I've heard a bit of your story already before, and like have been there for parts of it. But I love hearing you share, and just the deep well of wisdom and just experience that you are, and
I am pretty
that you have wisdomist. Yes.
Joey Tribbiani.
Hey. Yes. Thank you. If you guys haven't already noticed now, our episodes are titled very similarly to one of our favorite series. Mikaela got me on it when I was in Spain. I had never seen
gosh.
Friends before, but turned out to be a really great season of my life to watch through it, and it just brought us that much closer together.
Right? It's so good. It's so good. Yes. This podcast is an homage to Friends.
Here it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks guys for tuning in for Mikaela's interview. And we look forward to next week getting to interview one of our very own friends.
Special guest.
Somebody new. We're going to try this out with you. It's great. I think that's it.
All right. Yeah. Well, we will see you guys next week. So excited.
Yep. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to So What Makes You Come Alive. We're so inspired by the conversations we get to have with everyday humans about what lights them up and how to love the story they're living. We hope that you feel just as inspired too.
Interested in getting in on the inspiration? Click the link in our Instagram bio @ThriveFullyAlive and select the option for The One About You. Be our guest. Remember to tune in each week for a new episode where we explore what it looks like to get back to living our best story, where we hope that your favorite story becomes your own.